Hi, how are we doing?
All right, thank you very much. I thank you for inviting me to the Vosages Facebook group. I've quite enjoyed that because you're right, it does make you feel a bit Vistopia. What did I say? Vosages. Fuck's sake. You're right. That's going to give me some editing, isn't it? The Vistopia group. It does keep sort of ramming it home how hard everything is, but it is quite comforting knowing that there are people in the same boat and also in a worse boat that's sinking and on fire. You know, there's some that I've read that make you think, Jesus, how do you cope in that situation with, when it's like the whole family are constantly going on about eating meat and constantly banging on about it and stuff and all that. That must be so difficult. I don't really feel like being vegan is difficult. I think it's once you get into it, it's actually quite easy because you get your sort of standard meals that get you through the week, and then you can experiment with new stuff here and there. It's everybody else that's the problem, isn't it?
That's what Chloe said, isn't it? She said
yes.
the hardest thing about it is trying to understand why no one else is doing it. That's what happened this weekend. I had a couple of guys at work that one of them, he's a lovely guy, but he's a bit crackers anyway. He goes out of his way to make very nonsensical, over-the-top arguments with anything. So with me and veganism, it's like I'm like a playground for him. He had this argument that veganism or anti-veganism, but eating meat goes back to the Bible because Jesus made a picnic for 1,000 people out of a few loaves of bread and 2 fish. And I went, I'm not sure. I'm more concerned that you believe in Jesus and that story, or that you believe in that picnic.
Yeah,
that made that picnic. I'm like, what are you on about?
Yeah, using a fairy story as evidence of why we should eat meat is come on.
Yeah. And come then I had
another surely you got better arguments than that, mate.
Yeah. And then I had another guy telling me that I was a hypocrite because although I wouldn't eat milk chocolate because of the milk content, I would eat dark chocolate and that was hypocritical because I was paying for the slave trade to pick my cocoa beans. I was like, honestly, come on. And I said to him, look, I'm not having a go at you. I'm answering your question, but it's the frustration over questions like that I have to justify what I do while I'm not judging what you do so that you can justify what you do.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I having to have these discussions?
It's just constant whataboutery is just ridiculous, isn't it? And I don't know what it is. Like some people just want the conflict and the argument. Yeah. And I don't get it. Just be nice to everyone.
Yeah. I'm all for having a discussion with people. I've said on here many times, for someone who is interested, not even interested, if they're not interested in becoming vegan, fine. If they just want a conversation as to why I am and they're going to engage with it, fine. But if you're going to go out of your way to argue with me with pointless arguments, I'd rather you just start it off.
Yeah. Save your breath.
Yeah. If you're going to discuss it with me because you're confused, because you don't understand, because you want to learn, go for it. If you're having an argument with me because you just want an argument, piss off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not.
Life's too short.
Exactly. It's very frustrating. I still haven't come up with any ways to maintain hope yet.
No.
Everything I've looked at has been a dead end so far. Well, certainly hasn't given me any hope. So that's where that is. But I'll keep you abreast.
Brilliant, thanks. So, big episode tonight.
A big episode. Our number one super fan. is going to come and join us in just a few minutes.
Your number one fan.
Although he has got some competition, because I'm going to get the mention in early, because there was a vegan runners meetup at Urchester on Saturday morning.
Right.
And Chloe was there.
Okay.
And her daughter, Mossy. And Greg was there.
Brilliant.
And they were all wearing their How I Vegan podcast badges.
Hey!
Which I thought was excellent.
Yeah.
And Paul was there as well, but he'd forgotten his badge.
Okay.
But he still counts. Yeah.
We need to sort that out and see if people can get free entry into stock of Blue Peter badge.
The discount off your vegan camp out entry fee or something like that.
Yeah.
What else would it get you? Let's have a think.
Money off VFC.
Money off anyone we've tagged.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it don't get us any money off, so I don't see why it should get anyone else any money off.
That's right, yeah.
If you want to get involved, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.
And if you want to email us, get in touch at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.
Our guest today is someone we've been trying to get on for ages. We're very, very excited. We've mentioned him before as our number one super fan. He got a shout out in our previous episode on our camp out review. I will give you two examples of messages that he sent me recently. First one was on Sunday morning, when he was so anxious for the latest episode to be published. He said, "Dude, I know you have a life, but where's my fix?" And then after camp out, he sent me a message. "Where's his wife is a lucky lady. He's a good kisser."
That's embarrassing.
Oh, welcome to the podcast, Martin.
Hi, guys.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm all good.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
I would say no, but I can't stop laughing.
So while Wes is gathering himself, give us your thoughts on camp out, because that was your first one, I think, as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was my first one. I had the ticket as a present for my birthday, which was the week before. It was a big birthday, but we don't need to mention ages. We're all friends here. But yeah, I managed to, and I went on my own, but I met some friends from a sanctuary that I volunteer at called Footprint Sanctuary. They're not far from Wes, actually. They're based just outside Crewe. So I met a few of the guys from there, and we camped sort of in a little circle. But yeah, I mean, from a camping point of view, it was an amazing experience. I loved every minute of it. I had such a come down on the Monday when I got home. It was just like, oh my God, back to reality.
Yeah.
You know, and then back, I was at work the next day, and it was just like, oh man, this is it. this is the real life. Take me back.
Yeah. I felt like a kid the day after Boxing Day.
Yeah.
You know, you have all the build up, all the excitement for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it's like 2 days and it's done. And you're like, oh right. Oh yeah, I've got to. Except even worse than when you're a kid, because as adults you have to go to work, you have to do all the rubbish stuff that being an adult involves, and you've got a whole year to wait for it to come around again.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a really good weekend, and it was great to meet a lot of people, not just you guys. You know, that was probably my highlight. But in terms of meeting so many people that I knew from online, from Instagram, I probably met about 10 people. And it was just
wow.
like, oh my God, you actually exist.
give them some shout outs then. Tell us, who did you meet?
Oh crikey, they put me on the spot now. Well, there's a good friend who lives not that far from me, actually. Her name's Ellie. She's on Instagram. I can't think of her Instagram handle, but she's a vegan, or she used to be a vegan runner. I think she's been suffering with a bit of an injury. We've been saying for years, like, come and meet, and I've invited her to the sanctuary. Nothing's happened. And the weirdest thing was, it was the last thing on Monday. I was just going to finish packing up, and she was sitting by my stuff, and she'd literally just stopped there because she was carrying all of her stuff and she needed a rest. And she turned around, Martin? Because we'd been messaging throughout the weekend and we just couldn't find the time to meet each other. And she was just right there. It was just the most bizarre coincidence.
Fantastic.
So we got to say hi and stuff. But yeah, quite a few people really. I can't think now off the top of my head. Now you put me on the spot, but you know,
That's right. You'll remember them all when we're finished.
couple, you know, a few people off Instagram that I've followed and chatted with, and it was just the whole atmosphere was great, really, as you said.
I remember walking onto the campsite with all my bags and stuff, and I knew you two were already there. And I was walking towards where Matthew's tent was, and I just saw your hair, and I just went, Martin!
Yeah, I remember you shouting my name. I knew straight away who he was. I didn't even need to look up.
Dear. And talking about like everyone, like all that friendly atmosphere and stuff, I remember watching Happy Pair. Did either of you two see them?
I saw the last 10 minutes of it, I think, yeah.
So were you there for the hugs?
Oh, yeah, I came up to you and gave you a hug.
Right. Sorry, yes, you did. How could I forget? Jeez, it was just like they were saying about that thing about the endorphins you get off of hugs, and you should have at least 12 hugs a day. So let's do it now. They were just running around everyone, just giving hugs out. I think amazing.
I think I clocked up about 16 in the end.
Very good.
There was a couple of big bodybuilders at the back, and they were like, "I'm not doing this." I just jumped on one of them, and he just started laughing. But he was like, "Yeah, this is all right." And then he hugged his mate. Well, I'd like to think I spread some love.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as you've got consent, it's fine.
Well, if my wife's listening to this, she knows about it now.
Tell us about Footprints Sanctuary then, Martin. How did you get involved there? What'd you get up to?
Well, I mean, the first thing, I was getting made redundant a few years ago from a job, and I was sort of on gardening leave for about 6 months, which was brilliant. But I joined a local save group on Facebook, or just to look at the pictures and whatever. And they do vigils at a local slaughterhouse, and I was like, oh, I could never do that. And then one day I was just like, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to go along and see what it's about. One of the most horrible days of my life. Came home and cried my eyes up. It was just horrendous. To hear the sounds, the smells. And this is just like a slaughterhouse. You wouldn't know it was there. It's just like a factory in the middle of the town.
Wow.
And it's like there's a school 500 meters up the road, houses backing onto it, and the sound and the smell must be horrendous for the people, especially with the hot weather we've been having recently. That must have been grim. But yeah, so I met a lot of people there. We became quite good friends, really diverse group. And the person who was sort of running that save group, her name's Claire. I think you might have met her at the camp out. Actually, she's a vegan runner. She went to the rugby thing as well. She wanted to do something to sort of decompress after the vigil, because it's so tough. To try and get some good feelings back. And she sort of found this sanctuary that's not long been set up. So she found it, and it's just sort of associated with that, really. And then occasionally throughout the year, we do like a camp out there. So we go on a Saturday, help them do some jobs, sleep overnight after drinking. I don't drink alcohol, but lots of tea, eating loads of food, whatever. I think we just have a great, similar vibe to camp out. We just sit around chatting. And then the next day, the Sunday, depending on the people how much they've had to drink, the people who drink alcohol, we do some more jobs. But yeah, it's such a, but the place, I've got a highlight on my Instagram story about the sanctuary, and I get really emotional on it. I woke up like at the crack of dawn to see the sunrise. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was so peaceful. I was getting all emotional. Where's you'll love it. Check it out. But yeah, it's a really great sanctuary. And the person one of the people who runs it, there's 3 people. Lisa, she was at camp out. And she's an amazing person, really.
Fantastic. That must be a really hard job, because I could imagine there's just never any time off.
No, she's got a full-time job, and she does that. She lives on the site She lives on the site in a caravan. It's like a farm. They rent the space off this farm, or it's an old farm, and she lives on the site in a caravan. But she's a postie. She's a postie. That's her full-time job, and then she goes back and help sort out the animals. They do get regular volunteers from people locally who come and change water and stuff. But responsibility wise, there's 3 guys, and it's a lot of work for them to get through. But they create such a great little place for the animals. It's so peaceful, and you can just tell the animals are so happy there, really, and that's what it's all about for me.
So can you go there? Is it like open
Yeah, they've actually got an open day this Sunday, the 31st. I don't know when this is going out. Pressure to get it out before.
Yeah, blimey.
There's an
No,
open
that's
day.
fine. I'll get that.
I can post it on my Instagram. Or if you go to Footprint Sanctuary page on Instagram, you can find out there. I think it's a £5 a ticket, but all the money goes to the sanctuary. I'm taking my family up. My kids haven't been before, so they're looking forward to it. But it's such a great little place. I mean, it's rough and ready. There's no like gift shop or anything. It's just like a big field with loads of animals in, and it's great. You know,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'll send you the link afterwards, and we can do it. You could come this Sunday. It's not far from you, I don't think.
Right, yeah, okay. Cool.
So, come on then, Martin. One of the other messages you sent me is that you've prepared your questions and you think they're quite good. Well, prepared your answers and you think they're quite good. So,
you didn't
no pressure.
You didn't have to say
that. No pressure, but what's your vegan story?
Okay, I mean, my wife was a vegetarian since I've known her. She's always been a vegetarian. We raised our children as vegetarian from birth. I didn't feel too strongly enough about it the other way. I think I did have a bit of a moan about it to start with, but she was passionate enough to stand her ground, and I was like, fine, that's fine. But then I still ate meat. We obviously drank dairy at the time, fine. But then obviously with social media, I started following. I love sharks. They're my favourite animal. Bit of a weird one, but I've always loved sharks. And I started following Ocean Ramsey. I don't know if you know her on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's got over 1 million followers. She's a shark conservationist. So I started following her, and then it led to other shark conservation videos, as it does on Instagram. And I was like reposting stuff. And I was feeling a bit like a hypocrite when I was eating meat. I think I'm advocating for sharks, one animal, but I'm eating another one. It's a bit weird. And I remember a few months before, I'd had a roast dinner and I'd cooked myself some pork. And I remember eating, it tastes like I'm eating a pig here. And then I was like, I am eating a pig. So I more or less gave up. I more or less gave up pork at that point because it was like, that's disgusting. But it still didn't sort of register. Mm. But after doing these shark things, I was like, right, I'm going to go vegetarian here. And I said to my wife, and she sort of laughed at me, saying you wouldn't. I was the typical non-vegan at a barbecue. I'd be saying to her, I'm going to make up for it this week tonight. I'm going to eat so much meat. I'm going to eat all the meat, and she'd just roll her eyes. I mean, she's a bit of a pacifist. She never really talked to me about it enough. In my mind, I wish she'd talked to me more about it sooner, because her reasons are sound for not eating animals, and I'd never really listened to it. She never really talked about it, which is fine. But yeah, so I'm going to go vegetarian, and then didn't really commit to it. And then I decided, I think it's been mentioned on the podcast before, about Simon Amstell's mini film Carnage.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, I saw it on the iPlayer, and I was like, oh, let's watch that. So we watched it together, and it was the dairy thing again for me. It was like, hang on a minute. They have to have a baby to make milk. Why didn't I think about that before? My wife's breastfed 2 children. It's the same thing. And then I was like, that's disgusting. I was like, and she'd already started to want to move away from dairy herself. But it was like, I was getting through loads of milk. I had smoothies every day for breakfast. So we were playing through it really, not even thinking about it. So I was like, right, I need to look into this a bit more. And then I think that night, I was up until about 4 o'clock in the morning watching Gary Yourofsky's video, Earthling Ed Street interviews. This was back in 2017. And then I looked into it a little bit more, but then I was like, the next couple of days, that was it. I'm going vegan. I can't contribute to this anymore. I just can't do it. And I can remember watching some of the videos, and I was like, I can't watch the footage, the slaughter footage. It's making me feel ill. I can't watch it. How can I pay for somebody to do it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was by the end of that week, I was done. That was it. And it's more or less 5 years ago. Sort of now. It was just after my birthday, about 5 years ago. So it's sort of my vegan anniversary at the moment.
Brilliant. What a way to celebrate it at camp out as well.
Oh, yeah,
that's perfect. Yeah. That's funny. You're a little bit ahead of us, but we had a fairly similar sort of eye-opening thing. Watched a film, and you see all that information, and then you do a bit more research, and like, oh God, what have I been doing?
I still do it today. I still think about it.
Yeah.
I still think, oh God, what was I doing? What was I thinking?
You can't beat yourself up about it, though, can you? Because everybody does it, and it's normal.
Yeah.
You just get brainwashed. We talked about it in our previous episode, didn't we? It was about cows and having babies, and you just get taught as a kid that cows make milk.
Yeah, cows eat grass, they make milk. Yeah. And it's funny having kids. I remember going to the library not long after, and my youngest daughter, she was just over 1. I remember going to the library with her, and we were picking up some books. One was about a farm, and it said those words in it: cows eat grass, they make milk. And I was like, oh my, I think I took a picture of it and shared it on Instagram. I think the thing is, our sort of age, when we were younger, you would see more cows in fields, and they would just be eating grass. You wouldn't even think of it. Obviously, now it's a bit different. A lot of it's intensively farmed. Most cows do spend some time outdoors, but it's not a lot, really. Not every day like they should be.
No, and even if they did, even if they were outside every day, they're still having their baby taken away and being artificially inseminated and all that.
You can't take that part away from it at all, regardless of how many farmers on Twitter you argue with. They've got no answer to that, because it's just a fact. And there are a couple of ethical dairies where they do let the calf stay with the mother for a longer time, but eventually they're still slaughtered when they can't produce the milk anymore. And it's just like there's no ethical consumption if you don't need to do it.
No, that's it.
And what's been the biggest struggle throughout that process for you?
I think initially, obviously 5 years ago, we didn't have as many choices. I can remember going to the pub and making meals outside. If someone's going vegan now, they're spoiled for choice if you go to the pub. My wife went out last night to meet a friend, and there were like 6 choices, and this was just like a normal, regular pub. And he's like, it's mind-blowing, that element now. If you think back, he's like, yeah, it wasn't great if you were going out and eating. You had to really research, whereas now you're spoiled for choice in a lot of places. I think my biggest thing that I really struggle with now is seeing people that I know are really nice people and down to earth. They've got love and compassion, but then they don't care when they know the information, and that really hurts me sometimes, especially people who I know in person. It's like, you know all this information, yet you still want to contribute to it. I'm not perfect, no way. There's so many, I buy I buy products that I know potentially aren't, I shop at Amazon. You know what I mean? I'm not an ethical consumer all the time, but for something there where I know I can make a big difference, like this, like being vegan, I know I'm not necessarily causing animals harm. Why can't people see it that way? But then I didn't. So I do have sympathy, but it is hard to see that. I think when you first, this is how I sort of felt. When I first went vegan, it's great. It's all sunshine and rainbows. You're doing this great thing. But then over time, not too much time, initially you're waking up in this amazing dream. But after time, you actually realize it's a nightmare. And there's no way you can ever go back to sleep or wake up from it. You're done. Once you've seen the stuff that you've seen, doesn't matter whether it's a cowspiracy or whatever. I mean, I haven't seen cowspiracy. I don't really need to be honest, but you can't go back to not knowing. And going to the vigils, the sounds of the pigs, it's unbearable. I've got a highlight on my Instagram page from the vigils, and I posted stuff and I put, this is the real sound of bacon, and I did it on Twitter. I got a load of abuse on there, but whatever. But it's the truth. But once you hear that stuff and see it firsthand, you can't unsee it. I don't want to unsee it because it's made me the person I am now. But you can never get rid of that. And it's really difficult for me. I found that difficult, the transition of thinking, yes, this is great, to actually, no, it's not. For so many animals. And other people on, people have to work in a slaughterhouse. I mean, that's not a great job.
that must take its toll mentally on them, mustn't it? And if it doesn't, then I think there's probably a bit of a problem there. But being around all that death, all
I
day,
think-
every day, that
I
must
think
take a toll on you mentally, must it?
Definitely. I think I've seen reports of like people who live around that slaughterhouses or work in slaughterhouses have higher rates of PTSD, domestic abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse.
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't
it
be
goes hand in
surprised.
hand. So whenever people, when I've had got into debates with people online about stuff, and they say, "Oh, it's humans come first." At the end of the day, I was like, "Yeah, like, right. What about the humans in slaughterhouses? What about the people starving in Africa who can't afford to eat because we're greedily consuming all the resources?"
Mm.
But there's no answer to that, then, is there? But
Nope.
there's always, oh, but bacon though, or whatever. There's always a comeback,
Yeah.
but there's nothing factual about it.
I was saying to Matthew earlier, I had a discussion with someone at my work again. There's always a discussion in and he said I was a hypocrite because I was saving animals' lives by doing this, but I'd eat dark chocolate that would pay for slavery to pick the cocoa beans. I just went, are you really going this way with this argument? This is ridiculous.
Especially if they do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many rabbit holes. There's like coconut milk. I've read about coconuts in a lot of places. They use slave monkeys to pick coconuts.
Yes.
So I don't drink coconut milk anymore when I can avoid it because you don't know where that's coming from. Yeah. I think someone like humans can pick 80 coconuts a day, whereas like a monkey can pick over 1,000 a day. So, I mean, wow. where there's a profit to be made, there's going to be exploitation, isn't there? That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we live in this capitalist society that is all about profit and growth, all you can do is your best and try and pick where you purchase things from as best you can within your means. Because, I mean, you mentioned Amazon there. I don't really like shopping at Amazon, but sometimes that's the only place you can get stuff.
Yeah.
So
if you need something quick, or if you need it yesterday, you've got to get it from there. And it does irk me, but unfortunately, like you say, we're a product of this society ourselves, but we're just trying our best sometimes.
Yeah. I was having an argument. That's what this wasn't a discussion. It was an argument on Facebook as well over the weekend. Somebody made one of them comments about McDonald's, about we shouldn't pay into McDonald's because they're still, torturing and killing cows and fish and chicken and all the other things. I just went, but if vegans don't eat a McPlant, they'll just stop producing the McPlant, and then we've gone backwards. So we really should try and help it. Surely, that makes it makes more sense in my head. I know McDonald's are going to pump money into that area, but if we try and help them understand that there is a market for plant food, then isn't that a good thing? So,
I'm the other way of thinking. That I won't eat the McPlant.
Right.
Because it's for vegans, and it's great that vegans have got an option. Like my kids are never eating at McDonald's ever. My eldest is 9. She's never eaten at McDonald's. But when she's a teenager, in a few years, she might want to. So at least there is an option, but I still wouldn't. But in my mind, if they'd replaced a meat burger with the McPlant, fair enough. But they haven't. They've just added another product. It's like Cadbury's.
Yeah.
They changed the Bourneville chocolate. I remember it happening. They said, "Oh, we're changing the ingredients to contain milk." I remember saying at the time.
Yeah.
I remember saying on Instagram at the time, "You watch, in a couple of months they'll launch a plant chocolate and it'll be 3 times the price." And I got slated for it. And lo and behold, it's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And they're doing it because they know they can sell these extra products on top of the products they're already selling. They don't care. They just want the money, don't they?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
All about the profit.
Yeah, in defense of that argument was the lady that I was arguing with was saying that I wasn't vegan enough. I was like,
oh God.
No, you can't use that against me. You can't.
There's different levels of veganism,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy into that, but yeah.
Yeah, I find that so frustrating. There was one we discussed amongst a couple of my local vegan friends. I don't mean local from like the League of Gentlemen local, but who live near me. And somebody was absolutely slating vegan camp out because of the location of it, and anyone who goes isn't vegan because they're supporting animal cruelty, and I was just like, come on, we don't need to fight amongst ourselves.
There is a lot of infighting. Yeah, it is tough sometimes.
It's so frustrating.
I think that's the case with a lot of things in society, though, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't get the infighting. I really don't. It just baffles me.
Yeah, but well, like you say though, you get it within everywhere. You get it within political parties. You get it within religions. You get it within companies. It's everyone's got their own ideas, and their idea is right, isn't it? So
yeah,
That's
where we go. Okay. So when you went vegan, then what did your friends and family think about it?
Sort of a mixed reaction, really. I can remember telling my parents, and my mum had tears in her eyes, which is a bit of a weird reaction. I was like, I think she sort of had the feeling that she felt like she failed at something. I mean, I was a grown man, you know what I mean? I was like, I was 35 years old. But she was like, oh, what about the farmers? And what about I was like,
oh, God.
you know, but she's a completely different generation. You know, she couldn't quite grasp it. And my sister and my brother-in-law, they were a bit skeptical to start with, but now they've gone plant-based. They're not vegan, but they're plant-based dieters.
Very good.
So, you know, and if, you know, just a few questions. I got more abuse from friends online than face-to-face. The worst incident I had, I went out on a night out with my mate. It was his sort of stag do, and I didn't know. There was this other mate I was with. He'd gone veggie not long ago. At the time, and there was this other lad there I'd never met before, but I'd been told that he'd got this guy who was like really anti-vegan, but I didn't know it was this guy. But my one mate, he said, "Oh, Martin, have you met this guy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's nice to meet you." Like, and my mate said, "Oh, by the way, Martin's a vegan," and my mate walks off. This guy starts ripping into me, saying about why are you vegan? I was like, "Oh my God." I didn't even know because the first time I'd met him, my mate got pounded for that after. He did
it. Wow.
But that was like
how to make it awkward straight away.
That was the most confrontational thing I've ever had to deal with.
God, that's hard. When you're on a night out as well with someone you've never met, that's proper hard work, that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Was that early on, or was that recent?
No, that was about 2 years ago, I think. So about halfway through, really. Wow. It was before COVID, really.
I just think like being put in that position like a week after you've gone vegan.
Oh, yeah, he didn't melt.
Oh,
he didn't melt it.
Single out in the you're like, okay.
Oh, leave me alone. Oh God, that would be hard work. How about your wife though? You said she was vegetarian. What's her reaction?
She's vegan now. We went at the same time, so
okay, cool.
I mean, she was a bit surprised at me to start with, but you know, obviously fine with it. I mean, we never had a lot of meat in the house because everyone else was vegetarian, or if we did, it was stuff like breaded chicken or whatever. It was never, if I wanted to cook a roast dinner, I'd do it myself. But yeah, so I never expected her to handle meat for me.
Okay. And the kids are veggie, are they? Vegetarian?
They're vegan at home, but it's
okay. That's good.
It's really tough for me when we're out, they'll eat vegan. But if they're at school and someone brings in chocolate, how can I take that away from them? My eldest 9, as I say, she sort of understands a little bit. My youngest is 6. She doesn't get it.
No,
so it's really difficult. We wouldn't necessarily buy them stuff, or very rarely, if at all. But it's like, for me, that's one of the hardest things to talk about when people ask me about it, because you get the situation that Wes could be in. He's like, "Oh, you're a hypocrite," but I'm trying my best.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's all you can do, innit? You can try your best, and like you say, they're vegan at home, and you're not necessarily buying anything or much for them. It's only incidental stuff that's every now and again. So,
and I mean,
what more can you do?
Yeah, there's stuff like school shoes. If you can find me a pair of school shoes that aren't leather, that are sturdy and are going to last a full year, I'll buy them.
Yeah.
But the ones that they're like 3 or 4 times the price, and I'm not made of money.
No,
I'm just a normal bloke.
Office shoes are the same for grown-ups. I really struggle with ones that are any good that last.
Look, I've got some office shoes from the vegetarian shoes, but they're all vegan shoes. They're online,
Yeah.
and they've lasted me a few years. They're good.
Oh, okay.
But,
I will check them out.
But it is tough.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially if they're put in that situation of having something and then being told they can't have it. Kids go through enough trauma as it is, especially the last couple of years. I don't want to compound that.
No.
I'm just hoping when they get to, I mean, my eldest, as I say, she's 9. She said, when she's a teenager, she wants to go vegan. And that, that's what I'd hope for, really.
Can't ask for any more than that, can
you?
No. They've already got the nightmare of being adults to look forward to,
yeah,
and having to work and pay for things. So yeah, let them enjoy their childhood a little bit. Thank you for coming back, Martin. I say this every time, but I always edit it out. But I always do worry when we have to break after the end of the first Zoom session that the guest isn't going to come back.
I think I wouldn't be your number one fan if I didn't come back, would I?
No, that's true. No, yeah, you definitely probably.
I'd drop in the rankings then. I need to maintain that standing.
Yeah, I mean, you're assuming that there are rankings. I mean, looking at our listener numbers, there's not much competition, to be honest.
Oh.
Does that make you feel worse?
Oh, I'm going to cry now.
You look at the numbers, that'll make you cry.
I've sold this to my kids now. I didn't know I was doing this interview. I'm like, oh, you're going to be famous? I was like, yeah. Maybe one day.
Well, getting your picture, your Instagram post reposted by Preacher Lawson was surely the height of your fame so far.
It's up there.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's really cool. He's got like 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah. I think I added about 50 followers since Camp Out.
Really? That's really good.
But I was like posting. I think Camp Out were posting a loads of my posts as well throughout. So it's probably from that, really.
Yeah, but you were probably the only one who could get signal the whole weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was only good by my tent. As soon as I moved away from there.
Oh, I never really discovered exactly where it was, but every now and again I'd get like 10 notifications all of a sudden. You'd be like, oh, where was I when I got that? What's different?
Yeah.
Remember, we sat in, was it the music tent we were sat in, Wes, and you looked at your phone and it was like just scrolling through like dozens of notifications because they'd all come through at the same time.
I had my phone off, and then when I turned it on, nothing happened. And then I was sat in the music tent watching Hell's Ditch. Shout out to Hell's Ditch.
Yes.
And yeah, notifications came in, and there was like 100. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? No messages from friends because I ain't got any except you, mate.
Who needs friends?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like Preacher Lawson said.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only reason he went vegan was because he had too many friends.
Yeah.
So, since you went vegan, man, how have things changed for you? Has your hair grown longer? Has your beard grown longer?
Well, my hair is COVID hair.
Nice.
To be honest, I used to have really short hair, not quite as short as Matt's, but
it's not short through choice.
Yeah, well, that was the kind of a joke. But yeah, that was COVID. In terms of personally, I think what you just said there about Preacher Lawson about losing friends, I probably have lost contact with a lot of friends because I used to talk about it all the time, but I'm not bothered really. I've made new friends now through like I talked about before, the Sanctuary and online. I've got, I talk to quite a few people online every day, just about people who interact with my posts. We'll have a chat, and a couple of the people I met at Camp Out, it was like I'd known them for years, sort of thing, and it was great.
Yeah, people always say it's really hard to make friends as an adult, and I think generally that's true. But since I've been vegan, I've met so many people that I would now call friends that there's no way I would have had any encounters with in any other walk of life.
Yeah, I mean, my friends from the Sanctuary, we talk about it all the time, but we're all really different. We wouldn't normally come together as a group of friends. but because we've got this unifying thing about us, you know, there's genuine love between a few of us. It's like,
yeah,
and
you do get that sort of fellowship, don't you?
Yeah, there's definitely a close bond because of what we do, and you know, especially the people who enter vigils and stuff. We were there for each other as much as anything else.
I'd love to go to a vigil. No, I wouldn't love to.
You wouldn't love to, but yeah. I think everybody should do it, whether you're vegan or not. Everyone should go.
Yeah, like national service.
That's good. Yeah. You should do it, and then you can eat meat afterwards if you want. But really, who's going to want to?
Going back to the question, I think in terms of change, I think it has definitely changed me as a person. Going vegan, I've connected more back to nature. I love nothing more than just sitting in a forest doing nothing, mainly to get away from the kids. But it's nice. It's nice to just sit and listen to. During lockdown, my thing to do is in the night, the kids were in bed. I'd just go and sit in the garden and listen to the birds, and I was so peaceful. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this for years? And I generally feel I'm more the real me now. I mean, I've always loved animals. I don't love all animals. I'm scared of the hell out of cows, but I've got respect for them.
Wow. Why cows?
Because they're so big. You just don't know what they're going to do you? I mean, but I've got such a respect for their life now. But I genuinely feel like I'm more. I can remember being as a kid, and if I ever saw like a fox or a badger that'd been hit on the road, I'd be in tears most of the time. I'd be so upset for they'd lost a life or whatever. I can remember again before I was vegan, I was coming back from playing darts with my friends. I hadn't been drinking. I was sober, and I was driving home, and I hit two foxes. Like they both went out the hedge at the same time. Boom, boom. I was like, I got home, and I was in bits, absolutely in bits. So you know, I've always had that connection, I think, to animals, and I feel like this is me. This is who I'm supposed to be. I'm not a fake person trying to hide this side of me. I cry all the time. I'm happy to admit that. You know, I'm a sensitive person. I don't care who knows it. That's who I am. And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. I used to work in a Birmingham city centre, and you know, you used to have to go out on a Friday night, get drunk with the lads, and that wasn't me. It was never me. This is the real me. So
I like that.
That's definitely the best thing for me. That I feel like I'm just me, who I'm supposed to be.
And we've met your best time. How amazing is that?
That's true.
See, that cow thing resonates with me because there's this thing that I always had that fear. You know, if you're out for a walk and you walk into a cow field and you're on an edge because you never know what they're going to do. And now I don't know if I want to try it. But I always think I want to try and walk across a cow field and just let them come over to me so I can give them a cuddle. But
they wouldn't know.
They're probably going to stampede me and trample me. But you know, just want to go. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. Come and give me a hug.
If Martin, if the next episode is just me presenting, you'll know what's happened.
Yeah.
Where's that's the muscle who's walking across the field.
But surely they would know that you're vegan and that you're not there to, you know, you don't take part in any of their exploitation, so it's all fine.
Well, we
they
tell
just come up and
everybody
give you a little cuddle.
You see that like videos, don't you? Of, like, I guess like sanctuaries and other things where they've got cows laying on them while they're playing guitar, and I'm like, looks awesome. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I saw another picture today of a cow biting someone's hand. I'm like, oh no. But then you love sharks, but not cows. And sharks are really big and they've got straight, scary teeth.
Yeah, but they're just.
Yeah, but they're a long way away, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm not going to necessarily interact with a shark very often, am I? Plus, they're misunderstood creatures. Jaws has got a lot to answer for.
Yeah. Sharks
kill 10 humans a year. We kill 100 million a year. Who's the scariest animal?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Plus, it's their territory. It's the only reason they kill 10 humans a year is because we go into their territory.
And they're accidents. They wouldn't want to eat us. We haven't got enough fat on us. Well, I have, but you know,
In
not
general,
a seal.
though, I know what you mean.
We're not a seal, are we? We're not made of 90% blubber or whatever. I mean, that's what they need. So it's
I am after
generally-
camp out.
Most of the time, you get bitten and left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. They'll bite it and go, "Phew, I don't like that."
I don't know if
But
you've
by
ever
then, because they've got such big teeth, it's too late then, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the guy Paul de Gelder. He's on Instagram. You need to check him out. He's a shark attack survivor. Lost his arm and his leg. He was swimming in the sea or something in Sydney Harbour. He was like in the Navy SEALs or something. And he got attacked by a shark. Took off his arm and he lost his arm and his leg. He's now vegan because from that incident, because he's like, Christ, this animal was trying to survive. It's attacked me. You should check him out. Paul de Gelder. I'll try and find it. I'll send you his link after.
Okay.
He's definitely worth a follow. And looking into his story is amazing.
So did the shark go for him because he was a seal?
Well, I don't know. He was wearing like loads of clothes. He probably looked big, and that's the thing. It's half an accident, but he's like,
Didn't you say he was a Navy SEAL?
oh Jesus, that went right on. That was a dad joke.
Yeah, it was. Sorry about that. It's the school holidays. That's all I've got.
Would a shark actually go for steel?
Seal or steel?
Steel, the lad that's done killer. Steel.
Oh God,
Jesus, this is
Christ.
dynamite, isn't it?
this is hard work. I'm going to have some editing to do on this.
Yeah, I think you are on that one.
Let's move on.
This is why I'm the number 2 on this podcast. Because
You're not a number 2, Wes.
I really
You've
am.
never been a number 2.
I'm an absolute number 2.
All right, Martin, we've got a bingo question for you. Where do you get your protein and other nutrients?
What's protein? So I get it from where everybody else gets it from plants. Even meat eaters get it from plants because the animals eat the plants to get their protein. The meat eaters get it secondhand. So for me, I never used to eat nuts before I was vegan, but now I love peanut butter.
Yes,
I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all the normal stuff: nuts, beans, seeds. I have smoothies pretty much every day, and it's always packed with like chia seeds, flax, sesame seeds, whatever I can lay my hand on, I'll eat it. But it's all good. I do take a multivitamin just for vitamin D because it's recommended for everybody, whether you're a vegan or not, really. But yeah, fruits, vegetables. I've eaten so much more variety of food. I never even used to like mushrooms before, but I love them now. But yeah, I've probably tried more food now than I did before.
I had an interesting nutrient conversation this week at work. This was a really good one. So they were taking. I'm an NFL fan. They were talking about football. I lost interest. I bought into NFL, and someone said about one of the teams, Cincinnati Bengals for something. I was like, yeah, whatever. And someone else went, I'm going to become a Tennessee Titans fan, and I went, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. And they went, why is that? And I went, because most of them are vegan. Just watch games.
Yes.
And they went, oh bloody hell, you're not on about that again. Someone said, well, that's really weird. What, like, you think like NFL players and stuff, they need the meat to bulk themselves up. And I went,
for God's sake.
Now there you go. What does that tell you? And he went, what are you on about? I said, maybe they're getting the nutrients from other places like plants. And they went, well, how do they do that then? I was like, oh, here we go. So we went into you get all your nutrients from plants. If you're getting them from the meat, you're getting it from the plants anyway. Oh, I didn't realise that. Whatever. That was fun.
But you've got to look at the Wimbledon final. Both finalists, male finalists, on a plant-based diet. Novak Djokovic, in my view, is the best male tennis player of all time. Yeah, he hasn't got the same titles now as Nadal, but for what he's done,
off, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, his athleticism is off the charts compared to anybody else who's played the game. And he's been on a plant-based diet for years. And Serena Williams, when she was at her peak, she was eating plant-based diet as well. So it's like, and then you've got to look at, there's loads. Lewis Hamilton, everyone thinks Formula One drivers have got to be weak. The amount of work he puts in the gym is ridiculous.
They lose kilograms during a race, don't they?
During a race, yeah. And they've got to maintain their body weight to within like a couple of grams, otherwise it affects their speed in the car. So,
there's so many examples of it that there's just no argument against it.
There's more and more professional athletes, I think, going towards that way because I think the recovery is better as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Like I know West says he's not into football, but I like football. And there's a lot more footballers now going plant-based. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Up until recently, Sergio Aguero was probably the top name in English football who was on a plant-based diet, which and he was like the top striker in the league.
What's the best thing about being vegan?
What's the best thing about being vegan? I think I touched on it before about the fact I feel like I'm the real me. I don't have to hide who I am anymore. Just that side of being able to put that out there to the world that this is who I am. Yeah, I care about others. Why wouldn't you? If somebody asked me why wouldn't you? So yeah, definitely that side personally. And I think going back to the vigils as well, going to slaughterhouses, and whilst it's a horrendous experience, it's nowhere near as horrendous for me as it is for the animals. But going there and knowing I'm not the reason that they are there feels good. Yeah. That's one bit of solace I can sort of take from it, really. When I've done, we haven't done one for a long time because a lot of us have changed jobs and stuff, so there hasn't been one for a long time. But it definitely leaves an impression. And as I say, one takeaway is that I know I'm not responsible for this. I'm just sharing it. So it definitely helps.
How often do the vigils happen?
Say again, sorry.
How often do the vigils happen?
Yeah, we used to do it once a month, generally. And as I say, I went because I was on this sort of gardening leave period, so I could go regularly. And then I had to change jobs, and I did try and attend as much as I could, but it was difficult. But there's you just got to look for Save group. Okay. They're generally on Facebook. You'll be able to find somebody. There's like a big worldwide movement called the Save. I think it's called the Save movement or something.
Okay.
And I think they've got a website, so you might be able to find it that way.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of other things good things about being vegan, he's getting to go to camp out. That was an amazing experience. Probably one of the best weekends I've had for a long time. Just being around so many like-minded people, and everyone was just so happy. Really, it was just a great buzz, really, to go.
Yeah.
And he definitely lived up to the excitement that I had before. And as you remember, I was a bit off the charts, but he lived up to that. Yeah, he lived up to that expectation. Don't forget the ice cream, though. That was amazing there.
Oh, wasn't it though?
Oh, ridiculous! I think I had about 6 ice creams over 3 days.
Now, what term did you come up with to justify having an ice cream mid-morning?
Oh yeah, we've come up with a hashtag. You've got breakfast, you've got brunch, you've got 11sies, but there's never really a pudding option. So we called it brudding, breakfast pudding. So yeah, I had an ice cream on it was about 11 o'clock. There was nobody in the queue. I was like, I'm getting in there. I'm having an ice cream at 11 o'clock in the morning because I can.
Yep. Hashtag brudding.
Hashtag brudding. So it was actually Lisa from the Sanctuary who came up with it. We were like, yes, we're having that.
Is that BRUDDING? I take it?
Correct.
Brilliant.
So if you ever have anything sweet before midday, it's called brudding from now on.
Brudding. Yeah. We're on it. We'll start hashtag brudding. It will start trending, I'm sure.
Definitely. I'd forgotten about
that. That was one of my highlights. That was great. It meant I could have ice cream before lunch. What's your favourite vegan product at the moment?
We shared an exchange on Instagram earlier about it. It's actually my Adidas trainers.
Yes.
Because they're really comfortable. We went to
really are.
I went to London in June. Went to watch the Killers, and I wore them like for 2 days, traipsing around London, and I was so comfortable. I was like, these are amazing. And yeah, they're really good. Like I can't remember which ones they're called now. The
Samba, you've got, haven't they? They're the ones that were in the Instagram story. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they're like, they're probably one of the most comfortable pairs of trainers I've ever had.
Yes.
I know normally people say food, but yeah, for me, that's one I use the most. I think if we're going to go food, as I said before, peanut butter. I love peanut butter. But also, I get through about 5 jars of salsa a week. I love salsa. I love salsa. Salsa goes with everything.
Jeez. Okay. Any particular type, or is it just if it's got salsa on the label, then it's going on your food?
It's going in my tummy, yeah.
Excellent.
I tend to just get the jars from Aldi or wherever shopping, basically.
What advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about going vegan?
So if someone's come to me and said they're thinking about going vegan, apart from saying just do it, I suppose is trying to find out their motivation, really, and say, why are you thinking about it? Because I think it's something you do need to think about. Whilst I went vegan pretty quickly, it was a bit easier for me living in a vegetarian sort of house. We were just cutting out a few items on the shopping list. It's just when I was eating my lunches and stuff, I'd have to change what I was eating then. But I think you've got to really think why you're doing it. If it's not for the animals, for me, fine. What is it for? The environment, great. If it's for your health, I think that, it's a good way to get in. And a lot of people do then come more towards the compassionate side. But I think it's easier to slip off the wagon if you're just doing it for your health. From experience, from what I've seen of the vegan celebs, like Miley Cyrus's and stuff, who've gone back to eating fish and like steak and stuff, they're not in it for the right reason. You've got to do it for the right reason, or there's no point doing it, really.
No. And that's when it's clearer that it's the difference between a lifestyle and a diet.
Yeah. Because
people talk about, I'm on a vegan diet. Well, you're not though, are you? You're just plant-based for a bit. Whereas vegan it's the whole way of life.
It's everything. Like we said, the trainers, you're buying a specific pair of trainers.
That's it.
And stuff like that. You've got to, I made that decision now, and as best I can, I'm sticking to it. I think I probably made a couple of mistakes at the beginning. I can remember buying stuff with honey in, milk, occasional milk powder is always stuck in there. It can be difficult to start with, but once you get used to buying the same foods,
yes,
you're onto a winner, really. Another thing as well, I think when you actually think about some of the animal products that we consume, I sent you a tweet that I tweeted not long ago, which I put out there, which it basically said if plant milks had always been the mainstream product, and somebody now said, right, I've come up with this new product called milk from a cow. What we have to do is, first of all, we have to get semen from a bull. Then we have to insert that into a female cow. Then she has to be pregnant. After she's had the pregnancy for 9 months, when the baby is born, we'll take away the baby. Then we can have the milk that's intended for that baby. No one would buy it. If someone came up with that today, no one would buy it.
Definitely not.
If everybody had been drinking oat milk forever and someone came up with that, you'd have to be nuts to buy it, for me. And I think phrasing things like that, it's like, would you, and this, I think it was Gary Yourofsky used to say, everybody's born vegan. They just live in a non-vegan society. If you gave a toddler an apple and a rabbit, if they eat the rabbit, you need to lock them up.
Yes.
They're going to eat the apple, aren't they?
Yeah.
I had this conversation literally just before we did this interview with my daughter, because she says she's been talking to her friends about going vegan and stuff. And I said, just ask them that question. What would they do if they had a little piglet in their arms and they're stroking it? Someone gave them an apple and said, you've got to eat now. Which would they eat? They would eat the apple. Our bodies are made, fingers designed to pick fruit. We couldn't take down a cow in the wild by ourselves. It's impossible. Most of the animals that people eat, we couldn't kill and eat naturally. Chickens have to be cooked. That's not natural. It's crazy. Yeah, I'll get it. Thousands of years ago, people did it because they had to do it to survive. Most people nowadays live close to a supermarket. You've got a choice.
That's it.
That's it for me. So just think about where the products come from, and would you do it if there was an alternative? And most people would. If they really thought about it.
Yeah. So, other than Wes and I on How I Vegan podcast, who's your vegan inspiration?
That's it, mate. You've done it. You've named it. I think for me, it's the people who, first of all, it's the animals. They're my inspiration, right?
That's a good answer.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Okay, it's all about the animals. Secondly, I'd say it's the people who work on sanctuaries. The amount, like we talked about, the work they put in to look after these animals that have been abused and neglected and abandoned. We have a Facebook chat with the Footprint Sanctuary, and Lisa, who I mentioned before, she just posted some pictures. She's just rescued a load of chickens and cockerels that were due to be culled, not for food, just going to be culled because they were surplus. One of the hens had got chicks, and it's like she's done this amazing thing. She's gone out of her way to go and rescue these birds. And there's been times where she's driven miles with a van with crates to collect birds that are just going to be culled for nothing. She's doing that for nothing, just for the animals. She doesn't get paid. The sanctuary doesn't take. They don't get much money. They literally, get enough money in to feed the animals and look after them, and they work their asses off. And for me, that's like, it's mind blowing that they give that much time. I wish I could do it.
That is incredible.
They are, for me, they are probably the most inspiring people in the whole movement, the people who run sanctuaries, because they do it selflessly. I think at the beginning I was a bit of a fanboy about Gary Yourofsky, people like that. I didn't like Earthling to start with. I found him a bit obnoxious, but over time I grew to actually agree with everything he was saying, so I found it really hard not to like him. James Aspey was one, but obviously his stock has fallen a little bit recently.
I don't know him.
He did a speech. He's an Australian guy. He did a speech on YouTube. I think it was on Facebook or YouTube, and it went viral. And he did a lot of street interviews as well, really good work, and his speech was really good. And that was one of the things I stayed up till 4 o'clock watching. I think I watched it about 10 times. And it was a really good, but he recently conned a lot of his followers out of some money to buy crypto for himself.
Oh, no.
And then he basically put a post on Instagram saying, I need some help funding for a new project. Send me some money. He got some money sent to him. And then a couple of days later, he started spouting about this crypto that he'd bought.
Oh, my God. That's terrible.
Yeah, and he got called out for it by loads of sort of higher profile vegans, and he got blocked. He basically blocked them all, including me.
Wow.
I'd messaged him a few times, and he'd messaged me back, and he blocked me as well. I was like, oh, mate, there's no need for that.
That is not on.
But I think, again, I mentioned somebody else as well before, Lewis Hamilton. I love Lewis Hamilton. I mean, what a guy. He's got this massive platform, and he says what he wants on it, and I love that. He doesn't bind himself to what the team wants him to say. He just says what he cares about, and I love that. Love it. When he went vegan, he was like, I've always loved him anyway. And when he went vegan, I nearly cried.
Oh, that's so cool.
I was like, yes.
What's your favourite vegan venue or restaurant currently?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of places. Not a ton of places near me, really. There was a pizza place near Birmingham called Mr. Singh's that does purely some vegetarian options, but mainly vegan, and his pizzas are amazing. I've had them a few times. There's like two near me, so they're not national, but it's like a really, really good pizzas. Probably not the best I've ever had, but if you just want a dirty pizza, that's the place to go.
Vegetarian, vegan only? No,
not quite vegan only, not yet, but he's getting there.
Oh wow!
So he's like, some of the he's got like fake meats, like salamis and whatever, pepperonis. Some of them are, I think he makes them himself.
Wicked.
And they're really good quality.
Oh, that's unusual. Normally it's just like a bit of, I don't know, something they've got in the cash and carry or something like that and slung it on the top, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's made his own seitan and stuff, and
Wow.
Stuff. Yeah. And then there's a pop-up somewhere that I went to camp out called Vosages, who do the hot dogs.
Yes, we had a Vosage.
Yeah, they're banging sausages. They're quite close to me. So I have been, they used to pop up at a pub in Lichfield, which isn't far from me. And I went there once and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And when I knew they were at camp out, I was like, that's the first place I'm going. So that was really good. And
yes.
They're a really nice couple as well. Two young entrepreneurs. They go to a load of festivals and stuff. And they just run from their mum and dad's kitchen at the moment.
Wow.
That's where they run from the moment. They make everything in their garage.
That's amazing.
And a little plug for them, if you want to include it, is that they are fundraising. But I think it closes today. So it's going to have missed. But I think they might launch it again. trying to raise a bit of money to move to a factory and have like a little diner attached to it because they want to go a bit more commercial.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. All power to them because I had one. I think it must have been Saturday lunch at Camp Out. Man alive, it was amazing.
They're massive,
absolutely.
Aren't they?
Yeah, just enormous, and the toppings and everything. It was just fantastic.
Well, you do like a big sausage, don't you?
Yeah, you can't beat a big sausage.
You cannot. You know that as well as anybody, Wes.
That's why I like Wes so much.
Oh, randomly there, aren't we?
Yeah, I might edit that bit out. I'm not sure that's not sure we're aiming for.
Not family friendly, like Simon Amstell's set.
Oh.
No, that was not family friendly, was it?
I remember like seeing you after Wes in there and your kid was in there. I was like, oh my God. But I remember we came out after that and we went to, there was like a Chinese place that came out right at the very end.
Yes, that was great, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we were in the queue and there was this woman in there. She got like a baby, a small baby, I think about 10 months old, she said. And a 7-year-old kid with her. She was struggling. So let me hold your food and I'll help you. So it gets, and she's like, is it any good? And she's like, yeah, I've eaten from here before. It's really nice. So we all had the same. Me and my two friends who were there. And it was amazing food. But the woman said, oh, we've just come out of Simon Amstel. She said, yeah, I was in there as well. We had to leave pretty sharpish because my 7-year-old kid's asking a lot of questions at the moment.
Oh.
So as soon as he started talking about sex clubs,
yes.
I think we need to go and get some food now.
Oh, is that the time? Oh, look, what's over there? Yeah. Oh my God, that's all.
Yeah, it was a bit, yeah. I was creasing, but there was a family in front of us. There was a mum and a dad, young kid. He was probably about 10, and then a teenage daughter who was cringing. She clearly probably knew some of the stuff, and she was cringing. And because like, oh my God,
when you're a teenager, you would be laughing at it if you were with your teenage friends.
Oh yeah,
but not with your parents. That's awful, isn't it? That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, my two
it was
there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was just true. When he came out and he said, I'm assuming you lot are expecting me to do an activism talk. I'm just going to do some stand-up. And we were like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Thinking nothing of it. And then just started. And I was like, okay, this is fine. And then he started going into the depths of it, literally. And I was like, oh my God.
So your kids, your two older ones are probably, your youngest one. Oh my God. If I'd have been there with my kids, they'd have been ushered out quick.
Oh man. Promise Younger Nathan though next year.
Oh yeah, that'd be brilliant. Well,
yes,
he's class.
He's hilarious. Yeah.
I think he's hilarious anyway. But some of when I had shorter hair, my friends used to call me the White Roper.
Brilliant.
Because I got the big glasses, the beard.
Yeah.
Shorter hair. I was like, oh my God.
You say it.
So Martin, I've just come up with a new question, which we will now put back in, we'll put in the podcast from now on because it's something that's been on my mind. Since Vegan Camp Out, have you got any hope?
It changes from day to day sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I heard what you said on the last podcast where you just despair at the state of the world sometimes. But then I look at the younger generation and specifically around like human rights and those sort of issues, and they're so much more liberal than we are.
Yeah.
You just got to look at like trans rights and stuff. They just don't care, most of them.
No.
They're not, it's just normal for them, and that's my hope. My hope is that they've grown up in this world and they know they're in trouble in the future, and they're more likely to want to do something and drive change. I think we're still in a bit of a limbo that we've got the old school boomers who are running the world. I mean, my parents are
ruining the world.
My parents are boomers, but they're not.
And mine.
They're not in that sort of genre. But the typical boomers are still running the world, aren't they? As soon as that generation loses its power, we're going to see a big shift, I think.
Yeah.
So there's definitely hope. There's definitely hope, but it does come and go.
Absolutely right. For sort of, what do they call them? Gen Z, is it? What are we up to now? There seems to be far more acceptance of, like you said, trans rights,
Everybody's rights.
Everyone's rights. That's it. Racism's out the window. Homophobia's out the window. All that stuff. It just seems like they've collectively gone, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely amazing.
It is really.
And I think the number of young people that were at camp out as well was a lot more than I anticipated. Like sort of older teens and people in their early 20s and stuff like that. It was fantastic to see. So yeah, maybe there is hope.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Maybe I will listen to this every day just to help me out.
There you go. You've got us a new listener, Martin. Well done. Thank you so much, Martin. It's been a blast. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.
It's been great. Lovely catching up with you guys again anyway.
Yeah, they say never make your heroes, but hopefully it's been good for you.
I was going to ask if it was good for you. No, I've loved it, mate. Honestly, I'm really glad I've done it.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I'll edit it as soon as work allows.
Yeah.
So that you're not badgering me for it to be published. Although you don't need to listen to this one because you've already heard it.
I've lived it.
You've lived it, exactly. That's Wes's excuse every week.
Excuse, yeah.
You've got to listen back to this one, Wes.
Of course.
Just to hear about us kissing again.
I'll just listen to it every evening as I'm going to sleep.
Lovely.
If you want to get involved, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for How I Vegan Podcast.
And if you want to email us, get in touch at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com.